Thank you. So the book is Justice Makes a Difference, the story of Miss Freedom Fighter Esquire. So we appreciate the warm welcome. So Justice's favorite place to visit was her grandma's house. Grandma always greeted her with the biggest, warmest hug. Grandma always made Justice feel important. The best part of Grandma's house was her den full of books. Justice and Grandma would spend hours together in the den, talking and reading. Your name is your destiny, Grandma had been telling Justice since the day she was born. Grandma reminded her often that being named Justice came with great responsibility. To whom much is given, much is accounted for, Grandma said. Justice might not have understood all the words that Grandma said, but she understood that she was meant to serve and lead in her community. One day, when Justice was visiting, Grandma asked, "What is in your hands to make a difference in the world?" "What can I do?" Justice wondered. "I'm only 8 years old. How can I make a difference?" Grandma served in the church. She fed the hungry, sheltered the homeless, clothed those in need, and visited the sick. Grandma described this as living out her faith. Justice wanted to be like her grandma. She wanted to know how she could live out her faith. Grandma found Justice in the den, heavy with thought. "Tell me what's bothering you, Justice," Grandma said. "I want to live out my faith like you, Grandma, but I'm only 8 years old," Justice said. "What can I do? Aren't I too young?" Grandma's smile was gentle and reassuring. "Your age does not show what you are capable of. So don't let someone tell you that you're too young to make a difference." "Justice, do you remember the poem you wrote for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration at your school?" Grandma asked. That poem made a difference. Justice remembered the applause of her teachers and classmates. She knew her grandma's words were true. Grandma gave Justice a book. Here's a book about someone else who made a difference through her writing. Justice spent the rest of the afternoon reading about Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was a journalist who used her writing to advance racial equality. She skillfully wielded her pen to wage war for justice through her work as editor of the Memphis Free Speech and Headlight. She continued to advance social change while serving as a journalist with Chicago's Daily Inner Ocean and the Chicago Conservator, one of the oldest African-American newspapers in the United States. Justice was amazed by how Ida B. Wells used her pen to write for justice. Justice picked up a pen and said, "I can write for justice." All that week, Justice worked on a poem about love and peace. When Justice visited the next weekend, she showed her grandma the finished poem. "Words are powerful," Grandma told Justice. "They can be used in powerful ways to do good or to do harm. That's why it's important to always be careful with your words." "You did good, Justice." Justice smiled. Grandma always made her feel proud. "Justice, I have another book to share with you," Grandma said, and handed Justice a book with a picture of a man on the cover who stood larger than life. "Words can be powerful, and music can be powerful too," Grandma told her. Justice read all about Paul Robeson, who sang freedom songs in more than 20 different languages. He was a lawyer, a singer, an actor, and a professional athlete. Justice marveled at how talented Paul Robeson was. He was able to touch people's hearts through the power of song. These songs empowered others to join in the fight for freedom and justice. Justice had grown up hearing her grandma sing powerful songs like "We Shall Overcome" and Sam Cooke's "A Change Is Gonna Come." These were freedom songs. When grandma sang, Justice could feel it all the way down in her toes. "Grandma," Justice said, "I want to sing for justice. Will you teach me some songs?" Grandma began to sing, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine." Justice felt a light inside her spark. Let it shine, she sang. Sometimes When Justice visited, she helped Grandma in the garden. Justice loved the way the warm earth felt under her feet. She was amazed by how the tiniest seed could become a big vine full of juicy red tomatoes or a tall forest of okra plants. Grandma would sing while they worked, and Justice would hum along. Their music served as the rhythm for their digging and planting. Planting a garden was hard work, and it gave Justice a lot of time to daydream. She fantasized about what it would be like to travel around the globe. What's the most exotic place you ever traveled to, Grandma? Justice asked dreamily. And Grandma chuckled. I haven't been much outside St. Paul, honey, Grandma said, but I've traveled all over the world through books. This made Justice happy because she loved to travel through books too. After they were finished in the garden, Grandma gave Justice a book about a woman in a faraway land. Happy traveling, Grandma said. Justice read all about the country, Kenya, and the work of Dr. Wangari Maathai. Dr. Maathai was a global leader. She organized the Green Belt movement with the hopes of restoring trees in her home country, Kenya. She sought to restore the beauty of nature and uplift the close-knit community. She began by organizing mothers, daughters, and grandmothers to take action by planting one seedling at a time. More than 51 million trees were planted. Justice had an idea. Grandma, can we bring the community together like Dr. Maathai and start a community garden? Grandma smiled her proudest smile. I think that's a wonderful idea. Should we invite others to help? Yes, Justice said. We can grow fruits and vegetables. Maybe we can ask our neighbors to help us. During one visit to her grandma's house, Justice was quieter than usual. She sat on her favorite green chair in Grandma's kitchen drinking lemonade. Grandma looked concerned. What's troubling you, Princess? My friends at school said women can't be president, Justice said. But I always thought I might grow up to be president someday. Justice, don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't be who you want to be. She wanted to believe her grandma, but she still wasn't sure. When Justice got home from Grandma's that afternoon, she found a book in her backpack about Shirley Chisholm. She knew it was from her grandma because her grandma always left books in hidden places as special gifts. Justice read about Shirley Chisholm, who became the first African-American woman to run for president of the United States in 1972. She called herself the candidate of the people because she was determined to fight for the rights of all people. Justice became very excited. I can be president one day, she said to herself. And then she stood tall and said with confidence, I can fight for justice. Justice couldn't wait to tell her friends at school about Shirley Chisholm. She told her grandma all about it. Grandma, now all my friends want to be president. I'm counting on it, Grandma said, smiling. What else are you learning about in school, she asked. This week, we learned about the legal case, Brown versus Board of Education, Justice told her grandma. Grandma got a faraway look in her eyes. I remember attending school in a one-room shack in Alabama, she told Justice. Dozens of students of all ages gathered in the schoolhouse to learn together. We didn't have much. Most days, not even paper or pencils, but we had a love of reading. Justice couldn't imagine going to school in a one-room schoolhouse with kids of all different ages. Justice told Grandma that she learned that Brown versus Board of Education was a case about ending segregation in schools. Grandma, we learned that Black children were not allowed to attend school with white children. Yes, Justice, I remember, Grandma said. The schools were separate and unequal. Grandma, we also learned about the lawyer who worked to end segregation in school. Justice was proud to know such important information. Indeed, Grandma smiled. Charles Hamilton Houston. He said lawyers should serve as a mouthpiece for the weak and a sentinel guarding against wrong. That's a funny word, Justice said. What does it mean to be a mouthpiece, she asked. Grandma explained, a mouthpiece means that you use your voice to share about the challenges people face in society, like ending hunger or ending homelessness. What does sentinel mean? How about you find out for yourself in your dictionary? Grandma said with a wink. Justice ran to her dictionary. She paged through until she found sentinel. A sentinel is a soldier or a guard whose job is to stand and keep watch. Wow, Justice thought, I can be a soldier for justice. Finally, Justice was sure. She knew she could make a difference in the world by becoming a lawyer. Her love for superheroes inspired her vision for the future. She had a dream of becoming Miss Freedom Fighter Esquire, a superhero with a law degree and an afro. Now, Justice could see herself more clearly. She was determined to use her education in the struggle for justice. She finally understood the meaning of her grandma's words, to whom much is given, much is accounted for. Justice would live up to her name. Justice, are you ready for school? Asked Grandma. Justice could not believe how fast the time went by. She had remained in the den all day with her books. As she lay down for bed and finished her bedtime prayer with Grandma, Justice said, Grandma, I will make a difference by becoming a lawyer and helping those in need. Grandma gave her a reassuring smile and kissed Justice goodnight. Justice found a book under her pillow, another special gift from Grandma. Justice began reading about Ella Baker. Ella Baker helped the young people of the civil rights movement get organized and take a stand for equality and freedom. Justice fell asleep, quietly humming Ella's song. We who believe in freedom cannot rest.